I've Decided presents The Journey. Along the journey to your success, there are many great adventures and great insights. You can learn from it all. Tune in the first week of every month and be encouraged by guests who will share their success stories and their challenges.
I want to welcome you to The Journey today. And my guest today is Kim Martin. You mostly will know her from I've Decided. So it's kind of a switcheroo here. She's interviewing people, and now I'm going to kind of talk with her more about I've Decided and our weekly winning word, which is stand. And that, what do you stand for today? Kim, what do you stand for?
Well, I guess that could be kind of a loaded question, but I stand for a lot of things. But, I stand for the fact that we were created for success, that we have a purpose. I stand for God. I stand for the kingdom. I could say I stand as a wife, as a mom, right? As a business owner, as a coach. So there are a lot of things, but the solid foundation that I stand on is my faith and the fact that I believe that all of us were created for a purpose with the ability to be successful. And so that's what I'm so passionate about. And I stand on that truth.
I think also you stand, and you don't give yourself as much credit for that, is you stand behind helping other people be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is kind of become your journey, to stand strong for people because they're going to look to you as that leadership and that. So if you're standing strong, it gives more of a vibe to other people that you are anchored in your faith, anchored in your business, and anchored of what you want to do.
Yeah.
So then that helps them. And in return, it's like our job is to find out what they stand for and then help them to stand for that.
And stand firm,
Right. As you say, stick that stake in the ground and stand there.
Exactly.
Yeah. We've brought that up many, many times in that. But I think it goes back to that cliche of if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
It's so true, isn't it, Jeannie? I think that's a country song. Well, you got to stand for something or you'll fall
I think
for anything.
Aaron Tippett.
Aaron Tippett, yes. I saw him in concert one time. Don't know why. That's off subject, but I did. And that's his song, And isn't it true? You'll just fall for anything and you'll just keep bopping around. And when times get tough, you'll just fall off because you're not planted. Your feet aren't in the ground. You're not deep rooted.
I think in this day and age too is we have to stand for something so we can show the kids.
Oh yeah.
And that because they're coming up in a world right now that is so confusing. And so they have to see us as adults or parents, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpa, whatever, that we stand for something and that
consistent.
Yes.
Consistent. I think of my teenagers. We still have teenagers and our youngest is 17. And I just can't imagine how confused she would be. Any of our children would be if they didn't see consistency. If 1 minute we were one way, 1 minute we were the other, I just think that it would just be so confusing.
I think next year you're going to have consistency as one of the words.
I'll write that down. Yeah. I'm working on them now. I've only got about 25 words for 2022. Oh. So we got to get like 25. Well, we're 52 weeks. So we need 27 more. So, anybody got any good ideas for weekly winning? Consistency is good because being consistent is so important. Yeah.
And I think pulling out words, especially from the last couple years, the pandemic and everything is going on. These kids need to know that we're there for them and we stand up, and also that we're grounded in God's word.
Absolutely.
And that
and the faith and and just knowing that there is a greater power, that we think we're in control sometimes, but we're not. Ultimately, when we try to control things, it really never works out good.
It's-
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It just never does.
I've said this for last few years and everything. It's like God's already got the day planned.
Yeah,
You just have to show up.
absolutely.
And many times that's, what are we going to do today?
Yep.
And
If
just
you
kinda
let
go.
God plan it, it's like our weekly winning words, Jeannie. It's like this week. The weekly winning word is stand. That wasn't planned. I don't sit down with my notebook with those 52 words and look at the calendar. I didn't look at the calendar and go, "Oh, that's the first week of the last quarter of the year." The word stand should be there because you got to stick, you got 3 months left to finish the year strong. No, I had no idea. So I don't overthink it. I plug the words in and I pray over it. And somehow God makes every week the perfect word. It's so weird how they always work out like that.
Speaking of the last quarter of the month of the year, and that we have October, November, and December.
Yes.
These are the times every year that you want to set your goals for next year. You want to plan for next year. We have a conference in January,
Yes, ma'am.
the 28th and 29th.
Yeah,
of
it's going to be our
January.
first 2-day
Okay.
in-person conference. We haven't had an in-person conference since before the pandemic. And we've never had a 2-day conference.
No.
So we're going to do a social on a Friday night, conference on Saturday, and our Success Gala and Awards Banquet Saturday night. So it's going to be a busy weekend, but oh my gosh, full of energy.
And
We're
that's
excited.
going to be fun. And but also to get there,
Yes,
we need to plan this. And that's why I'm going to do my vision board workshop.
Yes.
Haven't done one for a while. Still kind of planning, is it going to be virtual or is it going to be in person?
yeah.
So,
And I like your idea of maybe doing a little both. Do the kickoff maybe to set them up for success in virtual, and then maybe have an option of building your vision board in person. They could do it virtual, but if they want to show up in person and have because I know how you have all the magazines and all the tools and resources we need. I need a new vision board, so I'm definitely going to attend your vision board workshop for the end of this year because, well, with everything that's changed over the last couple of years, I've decided, all the changes in adapting that we needed to do. My vision is still the same, but it's taking on a new life. And I've achieved a lot of my goals that were on my last vision board. And so now I need to make a new one.
And that's what I like about looking at you guys' vision boards and things that are checked off. And
I know.
That Michelle Baum, she did all of hers in that first year, and I was excited for her. And then some people say, "Oh, I did that. I did a vision board," but
you really could make one every year.
You should have one definitely every year. You should have one every 6 months, but every quarter, because one of those goals might have like little spider webs that you have to go and follow them. So it's goals, so.
And that's the other thing, coming back to the word stand, is if you are going to stand, I think in the weekly winning resource, in the subject line, I try to come up with the fun subject lines that set the stage for the whole weekly winning resource. It says, after you've done all you can, even still stand. So think about that. When you've done everything you can possibly do, like you're wiped out. You've given everything you've got. Even then, stand. And I get chills just thinking about that, because if you really think about how hard that is to keep standing when you've given it all, it's a very difficult task to not just throw in the towel. But the way to do it is to have your vision board, to have a plan, to know what it is you're standing for. Like you said, last week we did the value statement. What are the values that you stand on? What's important?
Well, some of
those things.
Some of the things that you even did with this acoustic, because
it's
acoustic.
Acoustic,
whatever.
That's okay. Acoustic, that's the sound of things.
Well, there we are. It's still the sound of things.
But it's an acrostic because I use STAND
right
to come up.
And each one of those, surround and trust, and appreciate, nurture, and dream, which you can find all of these on the I've Decided website. So if you just go there, you can find all
Well,
of them.
that's under the member only section.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So if you
Well,
want to
okay.
get all the inside information, that's a good plug. I'll plug I've Decided.
There you go.
You can join, become a member. And one of the benefits of being a member is every week you get a weekly winning resource, which is founded on a weekly winning word. This week we're talking about stand, but every week it's a new word. And that is a member benefit. But yeah, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, you get coaching. You get to come to the first and the third Thursday
For community networking and learning. And
yeah.
so
And you meet some great people, you know,
and
all over.
and access to all the conferences. So it's
Yeah.
pretty
And you
amazing.
could do it virtual or you can do it in person.
I know, that's the beautiful thing. So now
Yeah.
we are, in the beginning, I had a vision. We always talked about, Jeannie, you've been a part of the journey,
Right.
right? And it's only fitting that you're doing the journey, right? Your show here doing the journey, because you've been a part of I've Decided since
Founding member
since the beginning, a part of this whole journey. And don't you think creating those vision boards is like kind of the journey too, like creating the map? Would you see the vision board like a map for the journey?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and that. So, anyway, kind of to wrap everything up today, and that, it's like, where do you stand? What is your why? Why are you getting out of bed every morning, and why do you keep doing what you do, and that, and why, even when it is tough, and that you just keep doing it? There's got to be a why. Is it your kids, your grandkids, your job, your spouse? I mean, what is yours? A lot of mine, I'm doing it for God, and his work, so, but also with me doing that, it's showing the stand that I take to show my kids, my grandkids, and the people that I'm around. And that, so
I want to say too, though, you think about this fly. It's like there's
He
a
likes
fly swarming me. When we think about stand, it doesn't mean that that sometimes the door shuts. Somebody might be listening to our podcast right now thinking, yeah, well, I tried to stand, but I got fired from my job. Or I tried to stand and, my spouse walked out on me anyway. Or, I want to just speak to that a little bit, because I think that's so important. If somebody's listening and they might feel like I've done everything to stand and I couldn't change my circumstances and it stopped or it changed. I think about what I decided, where we came to a complete halt. Everything we did was in person, right?
Yes.
Everything we did was in person. Every meeting, every event was in person. I'd never been on a Zoom meeting before in my life. And then all of a sudden it come to a screeching halt. And it could have been real easy to say, well, it's not my fault. I got shut down. I had in-person events and I got shut down, right?
Right.
But we didn't do that. We said, okay, there has to be a way. And that's where we figured out virtual events.
Well, remember, every time there's a door closed, God opens another one.
That's right.
So you need to look and evaluate, think back of not feeling sorry for yourself and that, but okay, how can I take this? I've got all these lemons, make lemonade. So how can I make this come out and stand strong to go forward,
to keep moving
because
forward.
We have to keep moving forward.
So it doesn't mean that you don't get to a detour, right?
Right.
It doesn't mean that you don't get to a roadblock where it's like dead end. There's a roadblock. You thought the road continued, but they shut it down. And you have to detour regardless if you wanted to or not.
Right.
But if you trust, and I think that was the point behind the 5 things that you can do to keep going when the times get tough, right? And that's what you were talking about before. Surround yourself with the right people.
That's true. Very true.
Make sure that the people that you hang out with the most are people who are rising, who, when they come to a crossroad, they don't go, oh, well, got to go back home. My way I was going to go is closed.
Have you ever noticed that when you're around people that are upbeat and that are positive and everything, it makes you feel that way.
Of course.
And of course, if you're around people who are real doom and gloom, then you kind of feel that way. So you want to surround yourself with other
or
people.
it zaps you. You know, if
Yes.
you're a more positive person and you're hanging out with people that are a little more on the pessimistic side, you can leave feeling completely drained.
Right.
Your energy is just zapped, like, oh my gosh, they just wore me out, right?
Mhm.
But you can start to feel, you know, if you're, what do they say? I mean, this has been said a million times, so this isn't something somebody has, you guys have already heard this if you're listening, but it's been said a million times, but it is the truth. Whatever the 5 people who you're hanging around with, you're going to become the 6th one. So
Right.
whatever, you know, take a little inventory, whoever
Mhm.
you're hanging around with the most. And, you know, I have a running group, and it's so true, because if one of us loses some weight, then next thing you know, the rest of us are losing a little weight, because we're hanging around and we're like, well, she can't get ahead of me, you know, I got to lose some weight too. Or if one of us starts falling off the wagon and saying, oh, I'm tired today, I'm not going to run, next thing you know, we're all going, I'm tired too. It's just like that. And so
Yeah. And
and
then
I know you took a shift. You're still a realtor, but you're working under a new title, right? You're working with a new organization as a realtor, but you're still a
new
realtor.
company.
Yeah, new company.
Yeah.
Broker, I guess, right? A new
Yes.
broker.
Yeah. It's a
And so
broker.
you're still a great realtor. You didn't quit. You just
No.
shifted a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
you just felt like it was a time for change. So it doesn't mean that you didn't stand. It just means that God was just kind of
shifted.
you shifted.
Yeah.
God kind of called you in a different direction.
Mhm.
You needed a little refire or whatever. So surround, and then I like,
Trust.
yes. So, you know,
I think you have to trust. Number one, you have to trust God, but you have to trust your own instincts. We've been through a lot, some of us a little more than others, and everything, and depend on age and that. But you've got to trust your instincts of what they're telling you, when to do this and when not to do that.
yeah.
You know, so you know that, and you have to sometimes trust people.
You have,
You know,
yeah. I think that was the last thing. Trust God and trust yourself,
yeah,
right? Trust that, you know, trust that we're talking about. You brought up kids and our children and how we really have to stand on truth and be consistent. But I worried so much about my kids in this day and age, and it's like, Lord, I'm so worried about them on the technology and the information age, and you know, everything is at their fingertips, and I don't think a human being is supposed to have as much information as these kids are getting, and it's overwhelming, and depression is going running crazy right now and rampant. And I Melissa, our manager at Curves, you know, she said she read an article and it said, you were born for such a time as this. And that's biblical. And it's like, I have to take that breath and trust that God was in control over the era that I was born, the era that you were born, the era that my kids were born. And we were born at such a time as this. And if we don't adapt, if we don't accept and learn and nurture where things are, you get left behind. And then you just kind of go down with the ship going, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
well, it kind of goes back to that someone told me one time, um, it's our job to love them.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to then trust that God will change them or do whatever has to be done, you know, but we just have to love them. We have to love them through the bad times, just like we do the good times. And that's other people too. We
Mm-hmm.
have to, you know, sometimes we have to overlook some of the things and pull them into a positive.
Well, I always think about, you know, when I was a kid, fluorescent, you know, the big hair fluorescent. I was a girl of the 80s. And of course, all the adults were like, that's hideous. That's terrible. We love Cyndi Lauper and Michael Jackson. You know, those were the 80s music. And the parents were like, that's terrible music. That's music of the devil and blah, 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 you know. And it's the same. Every generation, you know, I think about, well, think about the 50s, you know, the generation of the 50s where the guys had the cigarettes rolled up in their pocket and race cars. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's like every generation, the older people just don't get it. they just don't get it because it's not the same as when you were young. We're always trying to think we can get back to where we were, but where we were is gone. And now it's always just getting back to better. We got a new normal. How are we going to make the most of it?
Right.
And moving into that new normal. I think appreciate, right?
I think appreciate a lot of what we have, what God has given us, but appreciate the things we have and what we can do with them, and that going forward, and appreciate the people that are around you, your friends, relatives, your spouse. I think just to appreciate what all in all that God has given us.
And focus on that good stuff. Just take a moment and take a breath and say, we got a lot. We are blessed, and in our distress, we're blessed.
And with your appreciate and everything comes right along nurture, because appreciate it, but then nurture it, especially kids. Of course, I have grandkids now, and they always say, if you knew how much fun there was, you'd jump to grandkids instead of kids.
But you can't do that. You got to have the kids first.
Yes, but appreciate them and take time to listen to them, or what. It doesn't cost any money to listen to them.
I know.
So, just, talk to them and sometimes we can find a lot of stuff that's going on.
And understand their point of view too. Yeah. I've heard this before. Listen to understand.
Right.
Don't listen to respond. And I'm guilty
criticize.
of that. Right. Lord knows I'm guilty of that because I'm listening so I can respond, and tell you what I think. Right. Yeah. And so that's something, I think a few weeks ago we had a weekly winning word, deepen.
Oh, yes.
And we talked about some things that we needed to deepen in order to deepen our mindset.
Right.
And listening, deepening our listening. And I got that for myself. I was like, you need to listen to understand. Don't listen to respond. Don't listen to argue. Don't listen to challenge somebody. Just listen and try to understand their point of view and where they're coming from. And it definitely helps. I also want to, under the nurture, we all have unique gifts and talents.
Right.
Like I always call you the connector.
Yep.
Right. You're a realtor, but a natural ability, a natural gift that you have is connecting people and connecting, helping people put the pieces together, so to speak. And I think that's why you love doing your vision boards, because you can connect them to their vision, their dreams. Right.
Right.
And we're similar. We're very like-minded people.
Right.
Sometimes you're like, were you reading my mind? And right. Because we are, when you're like-minded, you think on the same thoughts, and we're reading the same book.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
And of course, the last one is my favorite.
Right.
It's dream.
That's right.
And that, because you got a dream. You got to start out with a dream, and then you get a vision, and then you get a goal. And that's in my vision board workshop. It all starts with that dream. And if you follow that dream, it's going to become a vision. And if you follow the vision, then you're going to put it down as a goal. And that's where you're standing. And it's going to be rough. I'm not saying it's a rosy path or anything like that, but just surround yourself with people that are business people or that have ups and downs and stuff. And you'll find that you're not the only one that has to back up and regroup. And sometimes we have to do that and everything. So, just dream. And
if you feel like giving up, dreaming can be, the last thing if you think about it, after you've given everything you can, you've done it all, so even still stand. Now you want to dream too. You think, okay, I'm supposed to dream when I'm exhausted. That's the last thing you want to do, but it's the best thing you can do, because when you start dreaming, all of a sudden you start bubbling up inside and you start getting your ideas and your thoughts and you start getting excited, and so that's the point. It's like, if you feel like giving up, force yourself to start dreaming. Or like Jeannie, attending your vision board is so perfect for someone who feels like giving up, who feels like they're ready, who feels like they're ready to throw in the towel. because that's going to help them dream and put that vision back down. We're going to be at the conference. So our theme for 2022 is Unlimit Your Life. And I'm going to be introducing the purple jet theory. And I'm so excited. And I know you laugh because you've been hearing about this purple jet for years. And it's not about the purple jet in theory, but it is about the purple jet. So I'm real excited about what God's laid on my heart. But I think that, dreaming, and it's about the dream. That a big part about that purple jet theory is about that dream and how big you're dreaming. But doing your vision board class is a place to start, putting those dreams into. You're right. I wish we had a vision board with us to show them, but
I
that's
should have
okay.
brought mine.
When is your when are you going to do it?
Basically, it's going to be the 21st and the 28th of October.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't totally set the time. It's probably going to be maybe 6 to 8, something like that,
Like 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yes,
somebody might be listening in Colorado. Right. You never know. Where can they reach you at? If you're interested in doing this vision board, can they email you? Can they?
Yeah, they can
you?
email.
Can they do?
Yeah, they can email me at quickteam, TEAM 2012 at gmail.com. Or you can text me or call me at 309-360-0445.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And that. I also encourage you, as you're dreaming and you're standing and all that, I encourage you to journal.
Oh, yeah.
Every morning I kind of call it breakfast with Jesus, but journal. And I've even got to the point that I carry the journal with me because different things that pop up in the daytime, but also in the morning when I journal of the day before or whatever, or what's coming up that day, and that at the end of that week, I go back and I look at those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can kind of see where you were the strongest, and where you need to add a little bit to it or whatever, or even people that God puts on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that he always does that to me. I need to call so-and-so or whatever. And if I don't, sometimes I find out that they're sick or they're in the hospital or they've had a catastrophe or something. So, listen to your inner voice, and God's telling you something,
Mm-hmm.
but journal all the way through, and you can just get a cheap notebook or a spiral one and everything. But just
if you're a member of I've Decided, their success workbook and journal,
right?
They can utilize that for journaling. And I know in your vision board, a lot of your dream warriors, you call them.
Yes.
You've shown them different journals that they can buy. But like you said, just even on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I mean, it can just be a yellow notebook.
Yeah,
I wish I had journaled. I'd give anything if I had my life in a journal. I think if we all had our lives in a journal, we could all write a book.
There we
right?
go.
We'd all have a book. I just, I guess the last point that I'd like to make is thank you for having me on your show today.
It's been great.
I love chatting with you. It's always fun.
Yeah.
And, I just want to say this for the last point that I'd like to make is, and I put this in the article, is never, 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 never
give up.
Never. Don't give up. Don't give up on your dream. Don't give up on what God has spoken to your heart for what you are supposed to do. It may not look exactly the way you think it's supposed to look, but if you just hang in there and just keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep listening and keep, following, like you said, your intuition, trusting, you're going to get where you're supposed to go. And God doesn't change his mind. Isn't that wonderful? We don't have to worry. Mm-mm. We're humans. We change our minds constantly, right? One minute we're like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to do that. And the next one, like, oh, I don't know. That don't sound so good. But God doesn't change his mind. So if he's called you, he's never going to change his mind on that.
No.
The only person that changes their mind is you, right? Me, right. Us. So we have to stand.
when you're doing this journaling and everything, think about what you're doing with that journaling is you're leaving a legacy behind.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't know if it's your grandkids, your great grandkids, or whatever down the road, they might find these journals and read them, and maybe they're having a rough time and you're pulling them up to dream or whatever. So
wouldn't it be so cool if you had your mother's or your grandmother's or somebody's journal that you were reading their ups and their downs and just their
see it
life?
in the movies.
I know, but it would be so cool. I would give anything if I had like my we called her Big Mama, you know, my dad's mom. That's the only grandma that I ever knew, Big Mama, and I'd give anything if I had some of her journals, some things that she wrote. I might not want to know everything, but it'd be kind of fun.
Did you ever watch that movie, Bridge Over Madison County?
Yes.
And they went back and read their mother's journal.
I know. You might not want to know everything.
No, and I'm sure there was things they didn't know. But that has always stuck in my mind.
Oh man, yeah, that was a good movie. But yeah, you wouldn't want your kids to read that.
Not everything.
Not everything.
But if you're gone, you probably don't know.
That's funny.
Anyway, it's been a great afternoon talking with you and everything. And until next month, tune in the first Tuesday of every month for The Journey.
Yes, awesome. Thanks.
You're welcome.